You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
If you prefer real mornings, shouldn't you have a real breakfast? At McDonald's, we get real about breakfast. That's why you can have a savory sausage biscuit with delicious hash browns for only $1.50. It's time to wake up breakfast. Single item at regular price. Prices and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal.
Not to be a backseat driver, but can you say for sure you got the best monthly payment possible on your auto loan? Could it be that you might have gotten a better deal by shopping the loan at a few places and have a lower car payment? Next time, before you go car shopping, visit Communication Federal Credit Union first. Our auto loan experts will find you a perfect loan and get you the lowest monthly payment we can. Communication Federal, your auto loan experts. Restrictions apply. Federally insured by NCUA.
Ready to stand out, Army ROTC prepares you not only as a college student, but as a strong leader, allowing you to earn the rank of second lieutenant. You will be eligible for full tuition merit-based scholarships and develop leadership skills essential for your future. Start strong and enhance your college experience. Visit your campus Army ROTC representative today. To find out how you can earn up to a full tuition scholarship, visit goarmy.com/podcast to locate your closest ROTC program today. Army officers inspire, strengthen others. Paid for by the United States Army.
Hi, I'm Mike, founder of DollarShaveClub.com. What is DollarShaveClub.com? Well, for $1 a month, we send high-quality razors right to your door. Yeah, $1. Are the blades any good? No. Our blades are f***ing great. Each razor has stainless steel blades, an aloe vera lubricating strip, and a pivot head. It's so gentle a toddler could use it. And do you like spending $20 a month on brand name razors? 19 go to Roger Federer. I'm good at tennis. And do you think your razor needs a vibrating handle, a flashlight, a back scratcher, and 10 blades? Your handsome-ass grandfather had 1 blade and polio. Looking good, pop-up! Stop paying for shave tech you don't need. And stop forgetting to buy your blades every month. Alejandro and I are going to ship them right to you. We're not just selling razors, we're also making new jobs. Alejandro, what were you doing last month?
Not working.
What are you doing now?
Working.
I'm no Vanderbilt, but this train makes hay. So stop forgetting to buy your blades every month and start deciding where you're going to stack all those dollar bills I'm saving you. We are DollarShaveClub.com, and the party is on.
I know karate, I know jiu-jitsu, I drive like a gangster when I'm coming to see you, see you.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq. Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is, if getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now, 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
Good evening, this is Diane from The Red Wine. You'll be listening to a pre-recorded interview with Dalit Duran, Darylyn, and myself discussing Israel. Dalit lives in the central part of Israel, and warning, there will be some graphic conversation regarding this. This is part one of two parts, and we hope you have some discussion regarding this, and it's pretty, I was shocked by a lot of the things that I heard. And there's a historical lesson here involved as well. So we hope you join us this week and next week, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.
With Darren Haywood and Diane Beyer. Today we have, or tonight, depending on where you are, my friend from it was Lowell at the time. We both studied plastics engineering, Dalit, and she lives in Israel. She's born and raised. And I asked her these questions, what is Palestine? And this, I think, is exactly what people don't understand is Palestine is not a state and has never really been a state. It's a name of a region. And it was given to the region by the Romans 700 years before Muhammad and Islam were even born. And as for occupation, Israel is not occupying the West Bank. Israel conquered this piece of land in a war initiated by Jordan, Egypt, and Syria in 1967. And unfortunately, as we know, sometimes when someone starts a war, there's a chance that they may lose that war. And that's exactly what happened. There was talk on several occasions of peace agreements to give the land back to Jordan and Gaza to Egypt, but they didn't want them. So Israel left Gaza territory in 2006, and they allege that they do not occupy Gaza, yet they keep shooting the missiles. Now, this is a very complicated situation, and I don't know that I will do it justice, but we have been talking about what these people are going through. We think that we are having a hard time now with our country being invaded by aliens and our government has been complicit. But what Israelis are dealing with is they do live in harmony with Arabs. They're called Israeli Arabs, yet they don't know who to trust now because they're literally being slaughtered. And when we say slaughtered, Dalit has confirmed that we mean with axes on top of the missiles. And the United States needs to pay attention because we need there to be a strong Israel. And Dalit will tell us those reasons why. And also, I just want to say very quickly that Dalit's son was in the war of 2004 in Gaza as a combat
14.
What did I say?
2014.
2014. And, he has manifestations of PTSD because he didn't want to kill anyone in Gaza, women, children, men, anyone. And I don't think anybody wants any collateral damage for someone who's not directly responsible for slaughtering other people. But he had to protect his country, much like our veterans have to protect our country. And they come back, they want to still So, Delete, can you tell us what it's like? An alarm goes off, and we'll just start with the present and then we'll work our way. But an alarm goes off, and then what are you supposed to do when you hear that alarm?
Well, it's a siren. Usually, it's very strong sound of a siren, and we all have an app on our cell phone that detects which region in Israel are we, and if there's a danger of missile coming towards us that it's identified by the GPS, then the alarm goes off both in the application and in the region that where we're seeing actual sirens that goes off. And we have to go to safe room shelters and stay there for at least 10 minutes. And if we're on the streets or if we're on the street, we have to run to a nearby building and try to find a shelter, public shelter. But you usually have about a minute and a half to do so before the missiles start falling on your head.
And then you have to wait until the intercepts are completed, correct?
Yes, 10 minutes. We have to wait until the missiles are intercepted, and if we are in the car or in a traffic jam or whatever, we have to get out of the car, run away from the car, so if something hits the car, there will not be an explosion that we're going to burn alive or whatever, and we have to lay on the floor with our hands or on our head, and wait for 10 minutes until all the missiles are falling off or all the debris has been identified. It takes a few minutes, sometimes even more, but at 10 minutes it's pretty safe. So it does happen once a day, at least in central Israel, and in southern and northern Israel, it's like many times a day. I mean, some of the population has been already evacuated because you can't live under those conditions of sirens and missiles going off all the time.
And in the northern part of the region, that is not covered by the Iron Dome. Is that correct?
Some of it is covered by the Iron Domes, but the big missiles that were threatened by the Hezbollah, we may not be able to take care of all of the missiles. We're talking about heavy duty missiles. These are Iranians and Syrians missiles, and some of them will not be able to be taken down by the Iron Dome. Other systems may take them down, but the extent of damage and danger that we are susceptible by these missiles, it's far more dangerous than what is going on from the Gaza Strip.
And we looked at a map earlier, and we will put it up on our Facebook, Double D Uncensored, and probably on Twitter as well. And you showed us a little bit of the area. And when someone says from the river to the sea, that is basically calling for the genocide of Jews, correct?
That is correct, because if you look at the map that I gave you, this is the map that this is called the partition plan of 1948 that was granted to both Israeli and Arabs that lived in the region to live in the same region under two states. This two-state solution, actually, what everybody are talking about in the whole world, two-state solution. And the river is the River Jordan that goes from the Galilee Lake to the Dead Sea, and this is the Jordan River. And the sea that we're talking about is the Mediterranean Sea. Now, what's in between the river and the sea is the whole state of Israel. So, if you're talking about from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. That means that the whole Jews should not be there. That should be a Palestinian state. So that means Jews would be wiped out. Ever since I was a kid, I was told that they want to throw us to the sea. This was always the threat as a kid. I said, but what if I can't swim? I don't know how to swim that far. So that was when I was a little kid. But
that's terrifying.
Yeah, but that's the way we grew up. I mean, we grew up in such a threat, and and it sinks in, and suddenly you find yourself that we're living under state of drama our whole life, that somebody wants to kill us.
And in 1967, there was the 6-Day War. That was 1967, correct?
Yeah, that's true.
So that was Jordan, Syria, and Egypt attacked Israel.
Yes.
And when we say Israel, there's some people don't understand, like, Palestine wasn't a state. And what we mean by that is Palestine is a region. Like, you said the Poconos, which I thought was funny that someone from Israel would even know where the Poconos is. But it was just a region. It didn't have a prime minister. It didn't have.
No, it didn't have, and it goes back to 1948 because the region was Palestine. My mother is a Jewish. She was born in Palestine. Her family was living in this region of Palestine since the 1700s. After the Spanish expulsion, her family came to Israel and to Palestine, actually, the region of Palestine, and they lived there ever since, along with Arabs that live in this region. And the whole idea was to have the state, this region, to be divided to two states. Up until then, up until 1948, we were a British colony. And before that,
a lot of people don't understand that. You were a British colony.
Yeah, we were under the British rule. And before the British rule, this region was under the Ottoman rules for a couple of hundred years. I mean, it wasn't a state. It was neither a Jewish state, neither an Arab or Palestinians, whatever you call it. It was a region where Arabs and Jews lived together. And when the clashes started, because people started to come from Europe because of massacres during years and years of persecuting Jews, and after the World War II, and Jews wanted to go back to their region and to join their other Jews that already lived in Israel, and it was the only natural place to go back to. And yes, the plan was to live alongside with the Arabs who lived there. The Arabs refused.
When you tried to give that after you conquered that land
in 67.
In 67, Israel tried to give that land, Jordan, the West Bank, and Egypt, Gaza. And what was the compromise there? Did they want to accept them?
They didn't want. Neither Jordan nor Egypt wanted those regions back. The compromise was we wanted to give those lands in all kinds of treaty, the Camp David Accords and the Oslo Accords and all sorts of agreements that they were tried, with the American help to get us peace agreements in the region. They didn't want. They refused those offers. I mean, even, they always say that they when Jerusalem, East Jerusalem was conquered during the 6 Days War, we were willing to give it back, even though Jerusalem is very holy to the Jews. By the way, Jerusalem is never, even once, is addressed in the Quran. Jerusalem is not a holy place to the Muslims. It's only ever started to talk about the region. They decided that this is a holy place for the Muslim. It's not a holy place for the Muslim. It is a holy place for the Jews. But okay, you want East Jerusalem, you'll get East Jerusalem. And by the way, there's another issue that we didn't discuss. The Jewish temple is in East Jerusalem, what's called the Western Wall. I don't know if you've heard about it, but this is what the remains of the Jewish temple in Jerusalem. It goes all the way back to 2,000 years ago, even more. Okay, now the mosques, the Al-Aqsa Mosque and the Dome of the Rock, which are believed to be one of them believed to be the place where Muhammad stepped and went up to the sky, is built on top of that Jewish temple, the remains of the Jewish temple, the Western Wall. So how can anybody claim that we were not there? How can you build something on top of something and saying that we were not there before? I mean, the Jewish temple was there, and the mosque were built on top of the Jewish temple remains.
Well, how can you say that it was called Palestine? Because Muslim has no P. They have
Right.
no P.
Yeah, this is
letter
another
P.
anecdote. The word Palestine is spelled with a P. The Arabic language, they don't have a letter P. They have a fe, but they don't have a P. So they took a name that of a state, of a country, that they can't even pronounce the first letter. So it's for me it's ridiculous, because it's also another proof that Palestine, it's a region, and it was there even before the Muslims were there. It was before they can't even pronounce the name right. They would say Palestine with B because they can't pronounce it. So it's why would anybody put a name that they can't pronounce in their own language? It's ridiculous. But
So if I understand what you were saying, is you were saying that before this time, Muslims and Jews lived side by side.
I didn't hear you very well.
Yeah, you broke up.
So the Muslims and the Jews lived side by side in this area until
So I think she's saying the Muslims and the Jews live side by side.
Yeah, they lived side by side, not necessarily peacefully. Some of them lived peacefully. I mean, some of my family have Arab friends that live next to them, but they were always attacked on the basis of religion from the sides of the Muslims wanted to conquer basically the whole country. They want to conquer the whole world for the sake of the argument. They believe that all the world should be Muslims. I mean, if we're talking about the radical Muslims, and this is what we're speaking about here, we're dealing with radical Muslims. They believe that the whole world should be Muslims, and whoever refuses should be killed, or they have to live under their rule. So they lived side by side. But and this was the partition, the whole purpose of the partition plan in 1948, to put an end to those fights, and to have the Jews have their own state and the Arab have their own state. Palestine took the Jews took the part of Palestine that they called it Israel, and the Arabs were supposed to take the other part. I don't know how they wanted to call it. It was never discussed because since they refused and they started a war in 1948, and Israel survived and pushed them back, then it became part of Jordan. So it was never an independent state. This region, what's called the West Bank, was never an independent. It was either part of the Palestine region or part of Jordan, the state of Jordan. So it was never an independent state. So this is not something that. This is not true. When they're saying there was an independent state that we took over it, it's not true.
Can you explain what I wanted to know if you could explain, because we've been hearing it here with a lot of the college students chanting from the river to the sea. Can you explain what that means to you as an Israeli?
Yeah, what it means that they want to kill me, that they want to throw me to the sea, because from the river to the sea, it's the Israel state. Israel state is between the river to the sea, so there's no room for another state. If they say from the river to the sea, they want the area for themselves. They don't recognize the right of the Jews to have their own state in this region. So where do you want us to go? I mean, I hear many people go back to Europe. In Europe, they were persecuted. Where would we go? I mean, there's so many. It's like 40 some million Arabs and some billions of Muslims, and what's 20 something Muslim countries, Arab countries. I'm sorry. In Israel, only 60 million people around the world, worldwide. In Israel, we're only 8 million. So where would we go? I mean, it's the only natural place for us to be. I mean, ever since we were roaming this land over 3,000 years ago.
What I find amazing and outrageous are these three women. One is actually a gay Black woman, and the other two from women from MIT and UPenn.
Oh, yeah.
And they could not concede that calling for the genocide of Jews is hate speech. And that's absolutely makes me beside myself, because if you want to eliminate anyone, that's
hate speech,
abhorrent. It's hate speech. It is. And what they said was, it depends on the context. Well, I never realized how strong or how far spread anti-Semitism was. because I don't ever hear Jews asking for reparations or asking for Jewish people to be hired over Catholic people or Protestant people, or you don't hear that. And when I posted that you were going to be on our show, I posted on Facebook and I shared it with another Facebook group in Falmouth. And they said to me, I couldn't believe the vitriol. I don't have them in front of me, but I'll post them later. They said the Falmouth American Jews don't care about the Jews in Israel. And I thought, do you think if someone calls for the annihilation of a whole group, that they're going to stop with just Israel? No, they're going to come to Falmouth and find the Falmouth Jews, or the, Methuen Jews, or the Oklahoma Jews, or it doesn't just end with Israel.
You already had Hamas saying that they're going to take over the United States, for example, and they're going to force everybody to convert to Islam, and exterminate anybody that stands in their way. And my response is, bring it. Bring it. I don't want them here, but I will tell you what, I will stand up just like Israel did, and not just say, oh, we're just going to let you do whatever you want. No, Israel stood up to what has been going on around, being surrounded.
They are
and they
here.
Stood up to it.
They're just not murdering anyone yet.
Right.
Queers for Palestine, a sit-in at the Capitol. No one gets arrested for these, quote, peaceful protests where they rip the American flag and the Israeli flag and they set them on fire, and they pull missing pictures of children and family members and spit on them and throw it on the ground. We're supposed to be a magnanimous country. And what Hamas says is that it's not their responsibility, and Delete, correct me if I'm wrong, it's not their responsibility to protect the people of Gaza. They pass it off to the United Nations. So how are you supposed to even have peace with anyone who wants to annihilate a group from the face of the earth?
Or they don't protect their own people. I mean, that's even worse, I think. I mean, let's say, okay, you're fighting another group, but protect your group, protect your own people first. And this is something that it's far more than disturbing. And there's one more thing. I mean, all the gay people who are protesting for Palestine, do you know what they do to gay people in Gaza or in the West Bank? They throw them off the roofs. They they mutilate them, they hang them, they cut their heads off. This is how the gay people treated just for being gay. They don't even know that. Do you know that in France, that so many Muslims have been moved there from many Arab countries? There are regions that are requesting independence now to get out of the French rule. They wanted to be independent, to take some areas of France to have their own country, their own independence. Many Muslims. There's so many Muslims in Europe. In Sweden is already lost. I mean, in Sweden, I wouldn't want to go to visit Sweden, because there are so many women are raped there in Sweden because of the Muslims that have moved there. It's scary. People don't understand what it means. Do you really understand what it means to live under the Sharia law, to be Muslims? We Jews never want to convert anybody else. You live in your own religion, respect your religion, we live our own religion. Muslims don't. Muslims believe that the whole world should be Muslims, and whoever object to that should be killed. And that's some of the more progressive Muslims say, oh no, this is not how Muslims are. But open their Quran, open their Bible, what's called their Quran, and see this is what it's written there. So some take it to literally to that extent, and some are trying to live their own life. They want to live prosperous life in the West. I understand there are many of them that are like this. I can't, address all Muslims in the same way. But as long as the radical Muslims are so powerful and have so much money and so much support and so much force going into the West doesn't even understand what's coming.
You're right. We've been so spoiled that all all Americans can say is, well, these people are here now. We need to take care of them, and they don't understand what an invasion truly is.
No, they don't.
When you go to work, there was Israeli Arabs, and now that because everyone's become so radicalized that some people don't trust the people that they work with
Yeah.
because they go back to what they call Palestine and come back and kill people that they work with.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, it's a. I've been working with some Arabs, and many Arabs work. Work amongst us, and now, many people in the West Bank, ever since the war started, Arabs in the West Bank are coming to work in Israel, and ever since the war started, they're not allowed to come into Israel to work. Now, this is horrible. I mean, for the population, it's horrible. They're losing their income. They don't have, soon they will not have food, but people in Israel are afraid. Even people, only yesterday, they were trying to pass a vote that some of the Israelis, many of the Israelis think that they must allow them to come and work in Israel, with the fear and everything, because you can't have so many people not having a job for so long, because that create even more hate and violence within these regions, and that would backfire on us. But still, I mean, you don't even know. I mean, whoever stands in front of you may pull a knife on you. It's really scary.
That's terrifying. There must be so many. We talk about the mental health just from COVID and being locked down, and our children having to wear masks for 2 years. I can't imagine the generations that have passed down these mental health issues. I can't imagine. I mean, I live on Cape Cod. It's 62 miles to Boston.
You're breaking out.
From where the missiles are hitting. And I can't imagine, Boston being bombed and being on fire and not being able to.
They're there. You can't get past that. And on the other hand, you can't just sit there and not do anything while you're bombed, while you may be slaughtered. You're in danger. I mean, your life is in danger. As I said before, if you were hit by missiles, we were hitting. I think we are in the size of the state of New Jersey. Okay, Israel is about the size of New Jersey. Just think that 10,000 missiles would have been shot at New Jersey. And now you say, oh, you can't go and protect yourself and attack whoever shot the missiles on you, because the people who shot the missiles on you are civilians, and the missile launchers are within the schools and within the hospitals and within apartment buildings, and you can't just bomb there because you may hit innocent civilians. What would you do?
So they actually use those targets.
Yeah.
To set up their launch attacks.
Yeah,
and then
specifically.
If Israel goes to take them out, if they have their mortar launchers or rocket launchers in a school or in a hospital, and I would assume the technology can detect where they come from. And
no, not before they're launched. I mean, it's you have what's happening is that you have intelligence. I mean, they're really, really, really well protected in the tunnels, and they're covered. So only when they launched, you can see where they're coming out.
Where they came from.
And but
that
from
the
intelligence,
Israeli soldiers go to the homes and tell them,
look for them.
We're going to bomb you, and you lost over 100 soldiers.
Oh yeah, I mean even more. I mean we're losing more now. It's we're telling them, even not only this war, in previous war, what we usually used to do is we usually used to drop a small little cute bomb on the roof of a building and warn them and call them on their cell phones. I mean, our intelligence is sophisticated enough to have the numbers of all of the civilians in Gaza and call them on the cell phone and tell them that they should move within the next hour or two out of their apartments and out of the house, because Israel is about to bomb. Okay?
So they just, as we are speaking about 10 minutes ago, and the UN has got to go. I mean, I'm so much behind the U.S. withdrawing any and all aid to the UN, but they just passed another emergency resolution demanding an immediate humanitarian ceasefire, the immediate and unconditional release of all the hostages, as well as ensuring humanitarian access. 2 amendments failed. 2 amendments, one by Austria, one by the U.S., to put Hamas's name in there. And I'm going to read really quick what the Israel's permanent representative, Gilad Erdan, said, and it makes me so angry. The General Assembly finds itself about to vote on another hypocritical resolution. Not only does this resolution fail to condemn Hamas for the crimes against humanity, it does not mention Hamas at all. This will only prolong the death and destruction in the region. That is precisely what a ceasefire means. He added that the only intention of Hamas is to destroy Israel and that the group has declared that it will repeat its atrocities again and again until Israel ceases to exist. So why would anyone want to aid Hamas in continuing the rule of terror and actualizing their satanic agenda, he asked. And he said, we all know that the so-called humanitarian ceasefire in this resolution has nothing to do with humanity. Israel is already taking every measure to facilitate the entry of humanitarian aid into Gaza. And he underscored the need to hold Hamas accountable. He said, the ceasefire means only one thing only, the survival of Hamas. And he said, I honestly don't know how someone can, I don't know how can someone look in the mirror and support a resolution that does not condemn Hamas and does not even mention Hamas by name. And they supported it. They voted for it. It passed 150. It's disgusting.
I know. I mean, I don't care anymore for what the United Nations is voting.
I want that place removed from the United States. I want them gone because they are, in my eyes, responsible for half of what's going on of the strife around the world.
I think so too, because they're not. First of all, I don't know if you see all the documentation of when the humanitarian aid going into Gaza. And Hamas is taking over them. I mean, they're shooting the civilians who are trying to take the food. I mean, they simply, and whoever gives the food is UNRWA. It's part of the United Nations, and they play to the hands of the Hamas. They're a collaborator of the Hamas. I mean, they don't even in the UNRWA the UNRWA schools in Gaza, they have rocket launchers. UNRWA, the United Nations, okay, they have rocket launchers.
Well, one of the gentlemen, I think is what you're talking about. One of the gentlemen who was part of the URA, he was actually part of Hamas.
Yeah, they are, and they don't.
And it's amazing to me how ignorant, and that's exactly the only name that you can call any of these countries that agreed to this. How ignorant they are.
Yeah, it's money talks, and oil is there are a lot of economic interest within this all of those decisions, and it's not. To be honest with you, I know as long as we can get it. I mean, we have to. I wish we could continue for as long as we could. I wish we will have the funding for that. Because Israel is going to a huge economical crisis now because of the war, because all the money goes to the war, and without the aid of the United States, we will not be able to even continue. But I hope you all understand that the whole war is not a war between Israel and Hamas. Whoever is pulling the strings is Iran, is Russia, is China, and this is why the United States has so much interest in the region. It's not just, of course, the United States is our best ally. I mean, I mean, the United States have done for us more than, I cannot tell you how much we appreciate it. But it has, the United States is also afraid for the safety and the sake of the United States and Europe, because who do you think operates in Lebanon and Hezbollah? It's Iran. Iran is giving the instructions where to launch the missiles or not, and also with Hamas, they're training Hamas. I mean, there's some evidence that Iranians were involved in the actual atrocity because people heard Iranian. the language. They heard people speak Iranian. They're involved there. I mean, it's not a regional war. It's a
Global.
It's a
yes,
global
it's
war.
global war. It's
When
not. And this is something that we're caught in the middle. And I think that the whole world should support us to finish. If the world wants civilians to be spared from being hurt, I mean, I want that as well. Well, have Egypt open their border. Why Egypt doesn't open the border for the refugees there? Why aren't they open there? They can open the border to Egypt, to the Sinai Peninsula region. Why aren't Qatar taking them? And nobody is taking them? Why Jordan doesn't take them? Why?
are they worried about being attacked as well?
Well,
Is this
they're
a way of
worried because
protecting
the last
themselves?
time, I think the
They're
last
worried.
time they took refugees, there was uprisings everywhere,
They
wasn't
were
there?
uprising and they're
Yes.
making a mess inside their own home. I mean, they're collaborating and they're taking over the extremists, the Muslim extremists of Hamas, and Palestinians taking over the control over Egypt and over Jordan. Jordan is very afraid. Jordan hates the Palestinians. They hate them. Why didn't they give them the independence in 1964? I mean, Israel was not involved there even. It was under Jordan. Why didn't they give them the independence? It's worse than that. They were so afraid because the Palestinians tried to take over King Hussein and take over the country. They lost. And then in 1970, in the beginning of the 70s, there was what's called the Black September, where Hussein didn't take this shit anymore from them, and he just sorry,
That's okay.
and he just opened an open war, and then he slaughtered them himself. I mean, King Hussein in Jordan, because he didn't want to take it anymore from the Palestinians. They don't want the Palestinians in the region either. But at the same time, they're calling, okay, they don't let the Palestinians who are trapped in Gaza out to other countries, to other Arab countries, and Israel cannot protect itself. So which way we are to go? I mean, there's no way out. I mean, it's at the end of the day, if it's my kid or a Palestinian kid, I'm sorry, it's my kid. It's my kid first.
I think
I
any
think that
parent would justify that.
Yeah, I think we've all forgot that sentiment, and we're at a position here where I don't even think that we can complain compared to what you're going through there, but I just want people to understand that we're complaining about kids with tuberculosis potentially being in our elementary schools, and you're worrying about your relatives dying in a bombing going to the supermarket.
Yeah.
And what would you say to these, idealistic Ivy League elites that can't admit that calling for the genocide of Jews is hate speech? How has the opinion of these Ivy League colleges spread through Israel? I mean, I'm ashamed of anyone
It's
who can't say that.
embarrassing. It's embarrassing.
Well, shameful. It's a betrayal. It's a betrayal to yourself. It's a betrayal to God. It's a betrayal to all populations.
Yeah, these are the same people if you call someone by the wrong pronoun. Okay.
It's
there's no comparison between the two. You have people that are getting killed and dying versus calling someone by the same pronoun, yet one is hate speech and one isn't.
We called for an entire police reform all over the United States, and yet we can't admit that calling for the genocide of Jews is hate speech.
It's ever since the World War II and the Nazis and the Holocaust and everything, I don't think Israel has ever been aware of such an extent of anti-Semitism. I mean, if I'm talking to somebody, I don't know, anyone from these Ivy Leagues, just look into my eyes and tell me, I was born to my mother. She's Jewish. Do I have any control of to whom I'm born to? Do you have any control to whom you were born to? Why do you hate me? Did I do anything to you? Why do you hate me?
I'm confused about Jews in the United States that are very leftist. There's one woman that I know, she's about 72, and she stopped going to temple on Cape Cod because, her words, all the rabbis are lefties. How does this happen for people who have been persecuted for so long?
Well, this goes back to what I talked before, and all the tension between the right wing and the left wing in Israel that has been going a year even before the war. All the tension and all what's going on with the democracy demonstrations that we've been going through. It's a right wing and left wing, and it's between the people who believe that the Israel should never give back those lands that were conquered in 1967, and between those people who think that we should never have, like I said, I don't believe we have anything to do there in these lands, even though we conquered them right fair and square in a war whose we didn't initiate. And those right wings are also very religious, and they're radicals, and they're dangerous. They're as dangerous. I mean, every time there's a radicalism that is going on within a religion and within a group of people, it's it's a recipe for a disaster. And this is what's going on. It goes back to that, and maybe after the war in Gaza, I mean, many people from the left have turned more to the right wing way of thinking, especially the people that were directly hit and attacked in those massacres. And I think that we thought that peace and everything was a nice idea, but I guess we're living in the Middle East, that there's no room for this anymore.
Well, I mean, I don't think Hamas asked, "Are you left wing or are you right wing?" before they decided what they're going to do.
No, they don't ask whether we're right or
exactly. So there are thoughts of, but I'm for peace. I don't think Hamas cares.
No, they don't care. They don't care. Even they took even Muslims. Some of the Bedouins are Muslims, and there are hostages there, and they killed many of them as well. They don't care. They don't. They kill their own people in Gaza. I mean, what do you expect? I mean, I don't even. It's not even. But within Israel, I mean, people who are struggling between right and left, it's a big question now. Israel is now very torn about this question because we lived under the belief and under the thought that we could live together in peace and have a two-state solution like we always wanted since 1948. And I guess this dream is going away, is fading away. It will never be, and we don't know what the reality will be, whether we should be strict and we should be so and act as violent as they do. And some of the right wings extremists in Israel are very violent. They are and not to the liking of most of the population in Israel. And they took a lot of power in the government in Israel now. There are a lot of tension around this situation in Israel. Who's going to be the prime minister and who's supposed to be, and all the internal arguments within the Israeli society. I think after the war, it will be worse, and you will see it also amongst the Jewish community in the United States. To tell you the truth, I don't know what to think yet, because we're still in the middle of the war. We don't know what's going to be.
In our media, in your media probably as well, when they show pictures of dead infants and mutilated, women with their breasts cut off and raped, and they rape the men as well as the women. They want these videos.
You're breaking up again, darling.
They want what?
Oh, Hamas wants these violent videos of dead babies and mutilated people. They want that to get out because they wish to stir the 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 media, the propaganda, these Ivy League kids with purple hair.
But they also want to make people afraid by
Right.
saying this can happen to you guys if you don't watch your step, and they have the media behind it. But the fact is the images are just absolutely horrific. But until you actually see them, and not from a media source, but actually see them, I think people need to see just how brutal and horrific that Hamas is.
That word says
Yes.
slaughter.
Yes, and
I mean,
because they kept saying it's not true. You had college kids that they'd interview, and they're like, "Well, that never happened." Then they're still denying it ever happened, and they put the video out and said this happened.
And they still say it's not true.
It's like I'm like, what do you mean?
What else can you do? I mean, what else can you do? I mean, we have capturing of the body cameras of the Hamas who taped everything. I mean, I'm not sure that the U.S. did not see the extent of what has been done, because the IDF has released a very limited population. Only some diplomats and some of the Hollywood, some in Hollywood, and some of the media, some of the reporters showed them the actual videos from the body cameras and from the testimonials of the people, from the forensic investigators that have seen the atrocities, and everyone who saw that. I mean, none of them can deny that. I mean, I don't see how you can see something like this and say it's not true, because it's not a movie. It's real. I mean, you can't even do it in a
theater,
in a horror movie. I think none of the horror movies even showed anything like this ever.
How would you compare this to 9/11 so that people would have a comparison?
Well, 9/11 was horrible. I mean, it was something that, I mean, I don't think anybody can forget something like this. In 9/11, the planes crashed into the towers, and people were blown out, and nothing. Some of them, they were disintegrated, and that's it. But in the atrocities, I mean, you have a live person who sits in front of a family, for example, and ties the mother and father and in one side of the room, and the kids on the other side of the room, cut the breast of the mother in front of the kids, take the eye of the father in front of the kids, cut the hand of the little girl in front of the parents, cut the legs of the boy in front of their parents, rape the mother in front of the father and the kids. It's not something that is directed. It's something that it's real. And then they burn them. They pour gasoline on them and they burn them alive. And some of them have been burned so badly. Took weeks, and still until now there's no identification of some of them, because it's ashes, and you can't even take DNA samples from ash.
That is just like a I'm almost in tears.
It's like somebody that looks at you and do it to you. I mean, the terrorists they blown into the towers did not look into the eyes of the people who were they killed. Those people looked into the eyes of every single one of the 1,400 people who they massacred. They looked into their eyes in the horror. They cut their body parts and burned them and whatever. I mean, I don't want to go into so much details, but they looked into their eyes, and they were drugged. And they were taking drugs. There's I don't remember the name of this drug, but they were taking drugs so they can perform these acts. Because
it's just, and people don't understand that. I mean, Israel has every week humanitarian aid to take people out of Gaza, and Jordan won't take, Egypt won't take. Um, Israel's own people have been displaced 100,000 from the north, weren't
Yeah.
able to be protected. So they're staying with other people in small apartments, a whole entire family. And the people that are in Hamas, it's the population that's being killed, but the militants are very protected.
Yes.
So they're using the population as a shield.
Yeah.
And the people could leave Gaza, but like you say, where are these people going to go? And I don't know why some have to stay, or maybe they're made to stay by Hamas. But to me, it doesn't seem. It says it'll be so easy if we just have peace and kumbaya and hold hands. And how do you forgive someone cutting the breast and mutilating a family? And no, it's probably not the Palestinians who live there who can't get out that are being killed, but they're being used as bait by Hamas, and Hamas wants to wipe out a whole population. So how do people expect peace?
I don't know. I mean, and it's not just that. I mean, there were about 3,000 militants that came into Israel that day through the border, and there were about a couple of thousand civilians that came out of Gaza, and they did even the worst atrocities, not the militants. Militants, of course, did a lot of most of them, but 1,500 of them just roamed through the border, came into the houses, and did the exact same thing and even worse. Now, Hamas didn't even expect to take so many hostages. They didn't plan of taking that many hostages. They thought of taking 30, 40 for bargaining, for the prisoners in Israel, but they didn't expect to take 240 prisoners. They didn't.
Yeah, Diane has to leave, but
yeah, I guess
we're coming up against a hard break. But
okay.
Just think about in the United States, if all of a sudden your town was overrun and people were slaughtered on the green, and we take for granted the freedom that we have, the free speech, the right to an attorney, the right for against cruel and unusual punishment. And we need there to be peace in Israel. We need Israel to survive for our own well-being as well. And we hope that you'll come back again, Delete, and update us on what's happening as well as you can. And we just want to make people aware of exactly how people are living, in that Israelis don't want people, from Palestine to be killed.
Breaking on.
Yeah. Broke up a little there, Darylyn.
Oh, it's okay. Why don't you go ahead and take us out? We'll just have to do a split.
Okay, so all right. So we're going to be taking a quick break on the red wine, and we will talk to you in just a couple of minutes. We'll see you in a moment.
Okay.
Okay, so what are we doing?
So you guys can go. So you're recording it, so we'll have Rick do that like as a break, whatever, for one of the breaks, because this is going to be like a two-parter for the show, whatever. If you want, if you guys want to continue talking, and then when you come back, just do we're back from the red wine, and then when you wrap it up, just say thank you very much for joining us, because I think this is going to probably be a two-parter, obviously.
Okay.
So all right, so I'm gonna run right now because they're calling me for my meeting. So
all right, so now I'm recording right now. So do I just keep it going?
Keep it going. You'll end the recording and it automatically saves.
Sorry, folks. Apparently, I missed a cue on one of these cuts, so hang on a second. We're just going to go ahead and wrap things up now. They were just about done anyway. The break that they told me they were going to do wasn't where they told me it was, and I didn't catch it till now. So part 2 will be next week, and it'll be cleaner, I promise, because I'll have more time to work on it. Bye, everybody!